You think you're just watching a video, but what if you've been playing a game this whole time? Every clip, every word, every move is part of something bigger. But have you been paying attention? Or have you been distracted by views, by numbers, while missing the real story? Your friends might already be playing tricks on you. The question is, are you smart enough to catch them? Look closer, look deeper. Welcome to the game. Well, are we finally at the part where, right, this guy's mentally ill enough to know that he's this guy, right, because he's done the loops? Somebody's ear's getting bit off today. Because it makes it sound weird if you ask it that way, right? Are you a believer? Are you? Are you a believer? Are you a believer? I don't think you're a believer. Why? I don't know. I think you're still... But I do know I had a good team. So, it's funny how that came back around with the names, but thank you, Steve. Thank you, Jim. Thank you, Julie. You guys having the babies, like, this is a realistic thing, though. This part is more realistic than your guys' believer story. The fact that, like, if the aliens got the men pregnant and they were having these visions of pregnancy or whatever else, and they were thinking of pregnancy, but like real world, if we found a way, which we're not far in the technology stuff, we have the men have the babies, like the seahorses. $400 billion, I'd like to, like I had $400 billion in here, right around that area. That's where I got my money. Kind of turned out that my mental illness was my biggest advantage in this game, right? So I ultimately don't want to lose that edge. So I'm not going to give up the mental illness. I think the only option, really the only option, is to up the mental illness. You guys up the bets yet, or do you need like a few extra minutes? Do you want a couple minutes to go through the scenarios? Because it's the mom, like, so I'll give you a couple hints. Because we're going back around there, right? Like, if you go insane if you're not, like, conversation is how we organize ourselves, right? Some people that are organized can organize themselves through stuff, right? They have that. The people that are talkers, well, I haven't had anyone to talk to. Thing, right? Like, it's everything comes down to respect and, like, learning and understanding people's positions. And ultimately, too, on the flip side, not being such prudes, oh my God, that is a breast, or whatever else, too, right? But, so it's like both. It's first rule of Fight Club: ignore everything Brad tells me. Stop. Before you watch any further, drop a comment right now. Do you think you've got this all figured out? Have you really escaped the Matrix? Or are you still piecing it all together? Maybe you think this is just random chaos, or maybe, just maybe, you're starting to see the bigger picture. Take your best guess. What do you really think is happening here? Where things are, but let's be realistic here. In looking at, from the scientific perspective, I'm an unconventional scientist by accident. Mainly because I'm, like, looking and evaluating people and different things. I'm like, okay, well, I'm evaluating the doctors, and like, if you were to, I don't know, send a video to somebody and it goes to the wrong phone, right? Which one of my wives is the bossiest? It's hard to say. They can be pretty, like, it depends, right? Because they're all kind of different. So it's like, you got, like, the ones that are, like, just straight up yell at you. You got the physically abusive ones. The daily casting thing, but I don't want to spend too much time on it because I gotta... Alright. So, keep this in mind for the next casting thing. Technically, somebody's still on the... If I haven't met somebody, I say the other side can mean a lot of different things. The purposes of science on a different thing. Because at first I was like, wow, whatever, I'll just move forward, and if they die and... whatever else, and I thought maybe it would be on this side that everybody just dies, and then later I'll come see you guys, but I think I've changed my mind. Bad for Jordan because he got stuck with all us ADDers to try to teach us this stuff. So he's like, okay, I'll take this project on to kill the doctors, right? And then I'll bring the doctors back in to understand, right? But we need a classroom full of these, incapable ADDers, right? But also that have this ego that are like wanting to perform. They're full of themselves. They're full of addictions. Zeus, Tony was up here with the Zeus thing, and then that relates to Mother Teresa that goes back right over here to the Rome thing, and then obviously over here, right, with so that's Greece. That's how the Olympics, kind of the first things, the Colosseum, back into Rome, relating to that. Yeah. Well, then how would that relate to the situation currently? Well, that goes back to that's because it multiple universes, but that has to bring back into the aliens. Totally ADD out of that. I was starting with the things I quit all the time and not having a hobby, because tonight I'm starting this pole dancing thing. That's where like finding something for myself, because I never like singing. I don't identify at all, obviously, that way, and I never even sang at all. Like maybe a few times, and then I'm like, okay, I'm really bad at it. But I want reimbursement for the post-it notes because it's getting a little bit out of control for this. So let's just go through this quickly. But I told you we have Arab money. That's why you guys don't know what's going on. So that's obviously, so that's him with the polygamous situation, right? But then how that got, it's different timelines or whatever else. But they had a baby. They had a baby, right? That's when so you guys thought we were twins, but it's actually like half. At this point where it's like I see, obviously the women doing all this work, but not the men, right? Remember in the beginning I said all the men had to get all this credit, right, to get them on board before we even did anything. But women are used to working shit jobs for no money, long hours for no credit, and just being around a bunch of whiny bitches. So that probably makes sense why we're at that part. And 15 billion, Tim, for the privacy stuff. I mean, come on, I would have got 20. Right, is like control, right? I don't want things controlling me, blah, 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 blah. But ultimately, what does that come back down to? Finding all the people who've been controlling me. Ultimately, though, Charles is upset at Canva right now because he's not liking the pictures for his name. I don't know, should we finally tell these Hollywood people that they're like with the motivational speakers and stuff like that we had our own kind of game? Like, should we tell them that we have a cult, right? And then we use them, like they think that, like, because they only thought they were actors, right? So they're like, they weren't kind of getting the whole thing. But then ultimately that led to what? The models. And that, because that was a whole other thing, because obviously Taylor Swift and I have bad blood because she was after my imaginary boyfriend, right? Because of that whole situation. So then we got in a fight. Me off. Well, we're mad at Shark Tank because, Kurt Douglas says that Catherine wins because Michael is going to have to come back around to, again, finishing up things. I always think we're finishing up things, and then I'm like, oh no, that part, I guess we haven't closed around officially. Because starting next week, I need my Candace needs her sanity back, and right now it's not Candace talking. Part of Candace, but part of a lot of other people. To my mentality when I was in the hospital. I literally was in the hospital when I saw Anthony Hopkins. I was definitely cannibal when I was looking at, I was thinking cannibal, but Hannibal in the hospital looking out. But I was the movie character, like I was him, but as a movie character, right? Like that's what was going on in my brain when I was in the hospital, locked up. What happens to the human brain, right? Like October 14th, 2021. What I'm kind of currently facing, I'm doing this sheet, and as I'm working through things, so I have to come back around to this inner peace thing, because that, the coach is right. I'm trying to piece together the whole thing, yes, and move in that direction, but I have to start with one thing, and I put the inner peace as the first thing. Well, the truth is, right, in business, but in life, everything and everyone has a price. Every single human on the planet, every animal, every being, everything has a price. When you have to pay that price, well, that's one thing. When the bill comes due, that's another. How many languages do I speak? Roughly 6,500, give or take. It just depends. So it's 1831, I guess. I just graduated from the University of Cambridge. But I haven't come up with my theories exactly on the reptilian brain. This one kind of looks like the one they cut out of me last year, except mine was way bigger. And when it came out of me, it also was wrapped around the whole planet. So it was like, this was the, here, and then the snake was wrapped around, and then it whoosh, came out of me. So that was last year. So if you haven't had that happen yet, you're probably only still at Smeagol. Dentist chair, because with the teeth stuff, right? So the other torture with the waterboarding and all that, I was able to keep the secrets. As soon as they started on the teeth, I just ratted you guys all out. We got to get really a better point to America about really what I've discovered in this, for real. Like, it is the internal shift, so not being like the energy. So I don't see energy aura as a color like people do. I feel it. That's what I've had to realize. I just had to understand how and why and where. So going back around to yesterday when I said, it's a sting when you realize they didn't love you, they loved you loving them, something like that. Because we're getting down to the end of this, right? So Grant, you got your throat slit. Elena cut it, but what was the reason? Because so the truth is, it turns out that Henry wasn't really interested in me. He was only pretending to be interested in me. Why? Do I get jealous? Yeah, of course I do. Of course I do. That's where I'd say I have probably the highest amount of jealousy. Do I act on it? No, because it's your actions show me who you are, right? Like I'm no drama. My actions show me who you are. So I shut it down. Battle of the sexes, updates, all of that. Where does it get confusing? Well, traditionally, when we looked at America, we saw that they're very divided. This account was paid, and now and overpaid, and the equipment was returned. I returned it the day, through the code. I went to the post office. They gave me a number, a code. I went that day and returned the equipment. Trying to clean this stuff up. We see how this works now, right? So I'm not gonna say what names because it's already known, but have you ever asked yourself why self-care is such a challenge? A lot of times because of social media, seeing ads on TV in different places, we're bombarded with things with self-care, and we kind of think oh, I'm not having my, morning green smoothie, or I'm not, So I don't identify, and I just realized looking back that I've done performances because I was crazy and they were really bad, really bad over the years, and I never identified as talented or anything else. However, this Michael Jackson, and I can't try to get on my nerves, right? And with slowing down the internet, right? But you both look so cute and young. Oh yeah, you guys look so like little babies. You're so cute. See, this is why we have to do it in teams, because I'm not the OCD one to clean up, and still frowned upon to kill people this way, so that's why I'm very attracted to the Dexters. Like in the Matrix, right? When they load Keanu up with that stuff, right? All those skills. Every day they load me with more information on you. Well, I don't know. This is the problem with the team you were given, Wayne, right? Generally hockey players, right? That's more of a privileged, entitled type of sport, right? Not many, you look at other countries, other things, they can't afford that. You know how much equipment you need. You need parents that are committed to taking you there. So they're an entitled prick kind of attitude. Generally, that's why they're so far behind. So it's not entirely your fault, right? But you better you're gonna have to work a little bit harder, because I see the soccer guys I've long moved over to the mad scientist, right? Said Google's them out and you can't move. Well, Elena totally ignored my message saying don't like that I'm liking your stuff and sending you emojis, right? She totally didn't listen to that. So I don't know where we're at. Because when Jessica was driving the car yesterday, she said just shut the... Well, I'm at the part where I actually that I'm going to skip steps because I'm frustrated, right? We've been doing this now back and forth for a while, right? Hey Candace, are you aware that your posts make you look mentally ill? I'm crying because of gratitude. As I go through things, I realize, I was gonna go off on my rant, right? When I'm angry, It's like bottled up anger, but I turned it in, like, that's my ranting. Think you've seen it all? Think again. Every clue, every twist, every hidden piece of this game is right in front of you, but only if you know where to look. Liking this video tells me you're paying attention. Subscribing, that's how you make sure you don't miss your next clue. Because in this mind game, the second you stop watching is the moment you get played. Your move.